What's up, guys? It's getting close to Halloween, so I hope everybody is getting them pumpkin patches knocked out and getting all the PSLs that your heart could possibly hope for. I know I've put down an embarrassing amount of pumpkin spice lattes with whipped cream and cinnamon, and I'm not ashamed of it because I am who I am. So, anyway, welcome back. I'm Bruce, as you know, if you know. And we're here with another Dirtbaggery book review. I'm going to be talking about Book 4 in the Horus Heresy, which is Flight of the Eisenstein, written by James Swallow. And I got to say, this book, it might be tied with Horus Rising for my favorite of the series so far. I'll get a little bit more into that after the synopsis. That being said, my current read, actually, I'm reading Beowulf. If you don't know what Beowulf is, I don't know what to tell you. This is actually the first time I've read it. I mean, I've seen the movie with Angelina Jolie. That's about the only experience with Beowulf that I have. But yeah, so far so good. It's, you know, old-timey ass stuff, but I like it. I've been trying to read a lot of Viking stuff because I'm trying to write my first novel as a zombie curse in Viking in Norway in 995 AD. So I've been trying to read a lot of Viking stuff to kind of figure out what the culture, how the people would act, and, you know, immerse myself in that kind of ish. So I read Eaters of the Dead by Michael Crichton. That was pretty good. I didn't know that that's what the 13th Warrior was based off, and I was reading it and I was like, this seems familiar. But anyway, yeah. And then I'm probably gonna give this book a read because I never read it before, but my buddy gave it to me. So I'm gonna read that, knock it out, and go from there. I also really want dude, it's super hard to get more Horus Heresy books because I don't want to pay $10 for an ebook when I want either the hard copy. If it was on Kindle Unlimited, that'd be great, but it's not. I don't know why Games Workshop doesn't have their books on Kindle Unlimited. And I don't know who's paying $60 or some crap for a paperback mass market of these horror. They're not that, they're good books, but they're not what the hey is going on here? If anyone knows why they're so expensive, could you please tell me? I don't have time to go sleuthing to figure it out. Are they out of print? What's the deal? Why are the Horus Heresy books so expensive? Even the used copies are insanely expensive. What the French? Anyway, synopsis. Having witnessed the terrible massacre of Imperial forces on Istvan III, Death Guard Captain Garo seizes a ship and sets a course for Terra to warn the Emperor of Horus's treachery. But when the fleeing Eisenstein is damaged by enemy fire, it becomes stranded in the warp, the realm of the dark powers. Can Garo and his men survive the depredations of chaos and get his warning to the Emperor before Horus's plans reach fruition? Okay, so as the synopsis kind of talked about there, we get to see this part of the conflict from the Death Guard Captain Garo's perspective, which means we get to see more of the Death Guard. Now, for me, this is the first time I have had any, other than I guess they do show up in Galaxy in Flames, and but that's just kind of a, you know, they're on the side there. This is from their point of view, so I really enjoy it. They have a really cool dour, kind of a drab attitude about how they do things. Even their armor, nothing's flashy about them. Their ship isn't very flashy compared to other ships in the Empire of the other legions. Really just not utilitarian, but very simplistic and to the point of what their mission is, which is to kill shit. So I like that part about the Death Guard. Honestly, if they weren't traitors and heretics, I would probably put them up as one of my more favorite legions. Especially Mortarion. Mortarion? Yeah. What's how you say his name? He is very macabre looking dude. He's got the Grim Reaper scythe. Kind of, even though he's a Primarch, so he's huge, he's kind of gaunt compared to his brothers. So yeah, I just like the whole vibe of the Death Guard is very cool and I guess gothic, just metal really. I mean, I like it, but alas, they are traitors, so they can go suck a D. Something else, you see it towards the beginning of the novel. This is the first time for me that I've read anything that had the Sisters of Silence in it, and they are freaking sweet, dude. They're humans, right? But they don't talk the whole way they communicate, that they have like a little, either the sign language, or they have not an interpreter, I guess, to communicate with other Imperials. Yeah, the Sisters of Silence, big fan. They look cool. They freaking act cool. They are badasses, like legit going on the same battlefield as freaking Astartes, going after Psyker Xenos. Yeah, I don't know if it gets much more badass than that. I mean, what more could you ask for? They're not even augmented, or they're not like Astartes. They're just human. So that's pretty rad. I mean, I know they don't really go into it in this book, and forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but the Sisters of Silence are gnolls, right? Like they don't have like a connection to the warp or something. That's why they are the Psyker hunters. Anyway, they don't talk about that in this. I mean, they kind of talk about the weird feeling that Garo gets around him. But other than that, no, they didn't really go too much more into the Sisters of Silence. However, their whole vibe, their shtick about hunting Psykers and like being like an extension of like the right hand of the Emperor. Maybe not the right hand, but like they're a weapon very close to the Emperor. And they do his bidding. Love it. Great vibe. I just said vibe. But yeah, great vibe. I mean, Sisters of Silence rule. I don't know if there's more books about just them, but if there are, I would definitely be down to read them. I think the reason I put this book up with Horus Rising as maybe a contender for my favorite of the series so far is Garo. And the reason I like Horus Rising so much is because of Loken and kind of just like the journey that they go on as characters. They're not just these one-dimensional meatheads. I mean, they're these insanely powerful, skilled, immortal warriors. And like that's who they are. But they also like, they have a mind, they have a soul, even if they don't believe in it. And like they contemplate their actions, especially Loken. Like he's really contemplating like what's his role as a weapon. But Garo, it's interesting to see him because he goes from being, as everyone in the Imperium is, very, very secular, and then like slowly like having to confront the craziness of the warp and seeing dead people come back to life and turn into crazy monsters, but also his connection to the Emperor, even though the Emperor is like on the other side of the galaxy somewhere, and coming to realize that he does have faith, and seeing how that grows and blossoms throughout the story. I think it's paced really well. I think it feels really authentic, and yeah, I love Nathaniel Garo. I don't know if he's in more books. I'm sure he's in more books. The way it ended, I was like, it seemed like he was about to get into some new crazy cool stuff, because he's talking to the Sigillite. Sigillite's like, yo, we got some plans for you, boy. I don't know what that is. I don't know if he's like the first person in the Inquisition or what, but I really want to figure that out because I want to read some more stories about Nathan Garo because he's a cool character. James Swallow did an awesome job with him and a ton of the other characters too. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like good characters? I think that's what makes a good Warhammer story versus a okay one. I haven't really read a terrible Warhammer book yet. Like I said, False Gods is my least favorite, but it's not terrible. And I especially, speaking of characters, I especially really like Keeler in this. She's kind of a contrast to Garo. I mean, maybe not like a full contrast, but like where he's like secular and questioning his willingness to become faithful in something that's kind of, numinous. She's like full on, not questioning, 100% faithful, to the point where she can literally generate miracles. Like she has such a strong faith. And she's just, I really like that. Like it's a juxtaposition, I guess. I really like that compared to Garo, especially when they meet up. And she kind of is like his guiding light leading him towards his faith and getting him through these trials that normally he might be like, this is impossible. Like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, this is obviously, there's no chance for success. Only someone who could believe in, a purpose, like a higher purpose, or a higher power would think to even try, because, it's like a 1 in 1,000 shot. But she kind of leads him like, keep trying, you have a purpose. And he listens to her, because he does, they actually legit have like a connection, like a psychic connection. And then, yeah, I don't know. He seems to trust her, and then he follows her and leads him, and that leads him to his faith. I mean, obviously Galaxy in Flames, we got to see the carnage that the virus bombs can do. Again, we see it here on the, I think it's the weapons deck of the Eisenstein when the palm goes off. and I can't remember the house Carl, what his name is. Anyway, he's Garo's serf, right? His servant. And he, no, I think it's the bad dude. I can't remember his name either. Sorry, I can't remember names. But the Astartes D-bag, they got sent. I think he's the, what was he? Commander is his title. And he goes to the Eisenstein with Garo, who's the battle captain. And I think it was one of his stray bullets hits a virus bomb and releases it. And then the House Carl basically saves Garo and the rest of his Death Guard company and seals all the traitors inside, and they all get liquefied by the virus bomb, and it's super nappy. But I love the gore. I don't know if I'm just a weirdo. I love how violent it is. I love how gory and nasty those virus bombs are. It's so funny. Not funny. It's, yeah, you know what? It's metal. I like it. It is, I feel like I'm sounding like a creep. Sorry. Anyway, and then on top of that, when they actually get into the warp, and then Nurgle starts, putting his little fat dead fingers inside the ship and bringing all those people that got liquefied by the virus bomb back to life, and the fight, just a straight up fight between the Death Guard and the freaking, was it Seventh Company, and the undead Nurgle Astartes. Great scene. But then also like the psychedelics that Garo goes through, and the weird, oh dude, I'm so sorry, I can't remember all these names. The assistant to the navigator comes out once they get in the warp, and she's like going crazy, and then the fighting starts. Dude, it's so, it's so Nar. It's very Nar. I love the Nar. Shred it. Get it any way I can get it. This book, The Warp, obviously this is the most, so far the books I've read, time they spent in the warp. I mean, all the time so far has just kind of been like, yeah, we spent this amount of time in the warp on the way to this place, and then we got out. This is the first time they went in the warp, and like stuff went down inside the warp, and like, we have to get out of here. And then they get out, navigator's dead, they're stuck, they're stranded. And honestly, like, I know it's Warhammer, it's made up, but the solution they found to draw attention from someone was pretty cool. And yeah, it didn't feel contrived, and it was just a really, I don't know, it made sense. And it was cool. Like, it was definitely, it kind of goes along with this, which another thing I want to talk about is, as the story goes, it's like ever increasing stakes, and each time they get over a hurdle, they're left with even less resources to get over the next bigger hurdle, and eventually they're just trapped and stuck after they sent out this huge signal through the warp, and they're just trapped, basically entirely helpless, can't get any further, and it's at this point that they finally get rescued. So I love that. It was like so many hurdles they overcame, and they came to the point like, we have nothing left. This is as far as we can go. Either whoever finds us is going to murder us, or they're going to rescue us. And of course, it's Rogel Dorn and the Imperial Fists that find them and bring them on the Phalanx, which is the coolest ship I have ever heard of. I might have, honestly, I really want to do, so I'm probably going to go Space Wolves with my army, but I really like the Imperial Fists, and the only thing I don't like about them is their logo. I just don't like the communist look. I know it's not communist fist, but it looks like one. And ew. But yeah, dude, the stakes, like between them trying to like sneak slowly out of the flotilla, and then they got to worry about getting to a jump point where they can get into the warp once they're outside of the gravity wells, and then the really narrow window of success they have to slingshot around this moon, and if they're off by a small fraction, they'll plummet into the surface of the moon and everyone's toast. Meanwhile, they're getting shot at by traitor Death Guard ships and getting heavily damaged, and they go into the warp. The warp is like incredibly tumultuous, and I probably said that wrong. Like crazy warp storms are going on, and then they get in there, and then all the demons come in, and they get out, and they're crippled, and the navigator's dead, and they can't get anywhere, and they can't send any messages, and so they blow up their warp drive or whatever, and that basically, and then that they have to like get out of blast radius, which they do, but it basically, puts the ship into a coma, But blowing up that warp engine sent out this huge signal, and that's how the Imperial Fist found him. And so like they end up just floating in space. Things are getting cold. They're having to like shut down parts of the ship and ration. They only have like, I don't know, it's like months of rationing before they starve. But then obviously the Imperial Fist find them, and yeah, I don't really want to go too much more into that. That was a bit of a spoiler, but I mean it's an old book, right? Not old, but been around for a second. But yeah, just from the flotilla, everything that happens, it just seems like it's a bigger hurdle with less resources each time. And yeah, dude, great pacing and great obstacles for the characters. Loved it. Fantastic book. Loved it. Tied for first for favorite book of the series, as I said, with Horus Rising. That's all I got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys are still here, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know how much you love Warhammer. Let me know what you thought about my opinions on this book. What's your favorite book of the series? Not just of the first 4 that I've read, but if you have a favorite book in the entire 60 book, whatever series, what's your favorite? Let me know. Other than that, you guys have a great night and keep on reading.